Welcome to Intwasa Arts Festival, the 17th edition. And this year's theme is Reignite. These are conversations with writers. And today we have the multi-award-winning author and poet, Mr. Philani Nyoni. Welcome.
It's Philani Nyoni.
Oh, yes.
My mother gave me their second name, and, I kind of the name my father gave me and the surname, which I inherited without having the given name.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome. Okay, so Philani Nyoni. Please tell us about yourself. Who is Philani within the literal space and outside of it?
It's called Sanaisi. I'm a writer, a poet, and I'm a writer and a poet. I publish and I do spoken word as well. I've dabbled with film, I've dabbled with journalism. What else have I done? Acting, yes, and a few other things. I guess in a way I like to think of myself as a Renaissance man, in the same way Da Vinci used to draw a sculpture and cut up dead bodies at night.
Okay. When you talk about your art, is it something which is personal to you? What inspired you? Is it personal or is it just observations from the society?
It's sort of both, because in order to observe, something has to react within, right? Writing is like acting in the sense that writing is also reacting, in the sense that something has to happen, an external event has to react with something that is within you. So you have your morals, your ideology, you can't say something is wrong unless you know what is right. So yes, it's both personal and within society. So I have to look at something that happens within society and it has to inspire me. That's how I pick up the pen and write, like, yeah, okay, let me not be a normal human being today, let me just write it down.
Okay, how did it start? What pushed you to that extent of saying, now I am writing, now this is it, this is me?
There's a question I ask very often, even when I teach in workshops. Are writers writers or are writers written? Do you choose your fate, or your fate has been chosen for you?
So did you choose yours, or was it chosen for you?
I'm always asking that question because it's a beautiful paradox. There are times when I've made conscious decisions that I am going to be a writer, but then there are times where I realize that I don't have an option.
Okay, no, I hear you, I understand. Yes. So whose work do you follow? What work inspires you? Are there particular authors that you follow their works, or it's...
I have a very big library. Very big library. I actually own more bookshelves than a lot of other types of furniture. I bought a bookshelf before I owned a bed.
Okay.
It hurts when I say it out loud. So I read a lot of writers. I read very widely. Anything that I pick up, I have to read. I think since I was 18, 19, something thereabouts, I cannot eat and I cannot go to the bathroom without reading something. Especially the bathroom part. I've even had books in the bathroom. And try to discover how hygienic that was. So that's why I read a lot of poetry. So I sleep with a phone, a tablet, laptop, either of those or all of them on the next side of my bed. So when I get married, I'm really curious, where's my wife going to sleep? Because the other half of the bed is also a library.
Okay.
So yes, I read a lot of writers, but then there's some writers that I come to ever so often, just because I already know what they've created and how this will inspire me as a writer in this particular project. But generally, I read widely, and if I read your book, even if your book is bad, I have to finish it. I just have to know how bad this thing is. Sometimes it makes me feel good about myself.
Okay. So before we talk about your work, how is the reading culture in Zimbabwe? Focusing more on authors. How is the reading culture? Then we can also talk about the readers themselves.
Yeah.
How is the reading culture in Zimbabwe?
Well, with authors, I think authors don't read enough. I'll give you an example. Some writer came to me and says, I want to do this in this particular style. And I say to him, no, you don't. If you want to do this, read these particular writers. Because for each project, I take about 3 years to work on a project. But for each project, then I have to read other writers and see how they've tackled this issue. You don't want to repeat the same thing. You want to bring something different to the theater. So you have to read other writers, you have to watch films, you have to watch plays. You just have to keep in sync and also do your research. I think a lot of writers, we fail there. We don't read each other enough. Even if it's not about reading someone international or someone who's done it, but reading each other enough. If you're a writer, I need to be able to have an opinion about your work. Yeah, I don't like her work. You know why? Yeah, she uses the AB rhyme scheme. That's primitive, you know. But with people, and if authors, if we're failing as authors, then it means we're failing the readers. People read out there. Right? People read. One time, a friend of mine who used to live in Padenhurst was going home, getting a copy of my last book, Filtrum. They got there, and this window was very, very excited in their book. Right? And I even signed a copy for it, and I said, no, have a copy. Because you're sitting there, and this is someone who just sits there all day selling vegetables, and you think, okay, yeah. But that vet is brilliantly literate in literature. And you sit there thinking, no, wait a minute. Where am I missing it? So that changed my perspective about readership in Zimbabwe. And it also informs how I tackle my writing, in that I don't write for the audience to say, no, I don't think they'll understand this. I put my best foot forward. And if a politician ends up reading their book, okay. If a vendor ends up reading their book, okay. What I don't have to do is deny people me.
Okay, what literature have you produced?
Oh, yeah.
And what kind of literature
A ton.
produce?
I've written about 4 or 5 poetry books. I did Master Love as a Fool in 2014. No, 2012, actually. And 2 years later, I did Uniform Rock with Sean Apple. I did Master Sword, set a world record, and it was cool. 308 Shakespearean sonnets. I did, in 2017, I did Filtrum, and then I did the second edition of Filtrum in 2018, and then I went on, well, I didn't, I got someone in Sweden who offered to publish it, Smokedal, and they did a translation of that, and yeah. I've also featured in a couple of anthologies. 2014, I was in the King Prize for African Writing Anthology, College and Other Stories. 2011, thereabouts, I done another collaboration in South Africa. Migrants, something about migrant writers, so just migrant writers in that book. Yeah, I think 2 or 3 others as well. Those are books. I've done a bit of film. I've written widely.
Okay, are there any specific things that guide your work, or it's just random writing?
Well, I try to write every day. I try to write every day because writing is catharsis for me as well. I get to let out what I'm feeling onto the page. But by letting it out, I also get to do a bit of mischief as well. It's not always that I'm complaining, it's always that I'm in love. It's an idea. It's an idea, like, okay, right now I'm looking at your neck piece. It's very lovely, by the way.
Thank you.
And your braids. And the way it's working together, there's an idea to explore over there. So when I sit at my writing desk, I try to play with those ideas over time, which is why it takes me about 3 years to write a book. Because I'm constantly, every day I come back to my writing desk, I'm just trying to, play around with the ideas that I have and see how it goes and try to improve it. It's not like if I write something about you right now, I have to publish it tomorrow. No, I have to work on it. And be finally like, yeah, I think I want to be a writer so I can create something like this.
Thank you, Philani. So we're going to talk about the state of literature soon after the break. This is Conversations with Writers in Dwasa Arts Festival. Welcome back to Conversations with Writers. Philani, welcome back.
Thank you, Shanae.
So let's talk about the writing state in Zimbabwe. Let's talk about the literary space. What sells? What are the trends?
I think everything sells if you know how to package it, and if you know how to sell it. Everything sells. I'm a difficult writer. In the sense that one of my shortcomings is that I write what I want. I write what I like, I create something and I enjoy it. But where I have to be mature is how to package it. Especially now in the Zimbabwean literary space where we don't have any traditional publishers. But you have to try as much as you can to duplicate their process and to be able to bring out the level of quality. So you have to be honest with yourself and say, this is good work, this is bad work. And do something about the bad work. If you throw it away, throw it away. If you're going to sell it, package it to the right person. I just saw some giraffes out there right now. There's an analogy about a giraffe. My cousin and I see this giraffe in someone's house. It's a brilliantly ugly thing, you know. It's really ugly curio. I would say, not really a problem. Is it the guy who made it or the guy who sold it?
Okay.
Who's got the problem?
Well, I think it's, for me, I think it's a two-way thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because the person who made it,
Mm-hmm.
made it with hopes of making profit.
Yeah.
Now, the one who's worse is the one who bought it, because they're actually encouraging that person to keep on doing that.
Exactly. So whatever crap you create, there's a market for it out there.
No, I get it. I get it. Okay, so before you started writing, I'm sure there was a way in which the sector was governed. Then, ever since you started writing, what has changed?
Well, what has changed is that I'm part of it now, and I get to understand what happens within the sector. So I'm no longer just writing a Facebook tweet, a Facebook post, or sending out a tweet. Like, oh no, this is not happening. Oh no, I'm great. Oh no, they should do this for me. They should do that for me. Who should do that for me? So at least, and also with a bit of success that I've attained, I've also got to be on a face name basis with some people, the people who are current decision makers, and to understand the process as well. So when you talk to them about what you're missing, you talk in a civil tone. You know, it doesn't escalate to be like, no, Charmaine, why are you interviewing writers? Why are you not interviewing me? I'm Philani Nyoni. You should interview me. So I can come to you and say, hey, Charmaine, what is the selection process? Okay, Charmaine, your interview didn't go well. You know what you're supposed to do? So I think for me that has changed. But a lot of things have changed. A lot of avenues have changed. I think we had a crop of artists that were there. And the crop that I came in with were also learning and trying to get into those structures. So at the end of the day, you're complaining about so-and-so is not doing this for me, but you wake up a few years later and someone is expecting you to do what you're expecting someone else to do for them. So, yes.
Did you have any expectations when you decided to write?
Obviously, have you seen my writing?
What did you expect?
I expect it to be good. I expect it to be great, you know. But now, when you're part of the process, now you sort of understand what needs to be done, and I sleep way lot less. Way lot less. So, for example, when I came into writing, traditional publishing was still an actual thing. But when I came back into because my first book, when I did my first book, I was just coming back from South Africa, and I understood the literary space enough to understand that traditional publishing is not going to work. Not for me, not in this country. And we sort of, worked with that and got to where we are. I think if institutions were functional, we'd do a lot better. But they're not, and someone has to step in. Someone, you can't keep on looking outward.
Okay, talking about institutions, what is the role of media in marketing and publishing and putting your work out there? What role are they playing?
A lot. I think media does play a lot of role in my life, and I appreciate what the media has done for me. I think the media has done a lot for my career and a lot of other writers. So media is basically information dissemination, right? So when you put out your product, people have to know about it, whether it's social media or the traditional media.
But is it enough for everyone?
I think people have to do more. We all have to do more. The literature industry is a $1 billion industry. So what are we doing to make sure everyone has a bit of a bit of that piece? It's not about the writer only. No, a journalist who writes about creators also establishes his niche right there, because people want the work, but the media is the link between the creator and the consumer. But a lot of things are wrong in this country. When was the last time you bought a newspaper?
I stick to the phone.
I ran out of paper the other day, and I needed some paper, and I didn't have a newspaper. Like, oh my God, I don't have a newspaper to do what I needed to do with paper, because I ran out of paper, and then newspaper was a substitute. So, but when was the last time you bought a newspaper? So even if I'm in the newspaper, it's not the same. The readership is not the same anymore. So we have to do a lot more. We have to provide, the journalists also have a role to play in providing content that the people want to read. I can't just be marketing all my people on social media.
Okay, so when it comes to content creation, do you think that women writers should tell women's stories? Only women writers are supposed to tell women's stories, or storytelling is not determined by gender? What's your take on that?
Are you asking me that should a black man be allowed to write about white people?
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Why?
It's a story. We're storytellers. We observe. We tell stories, right? Mm-hmm. So if I write a story about women, I have to do it right. I have to dress it properly. I have to get my toolkit in order. Every creative has a toolkit, right? I need to be able to listen to your story and interpret it and present it properly, because you have your story, but you can't write as good as me.
But don't you think that the interpretation gets lost somewhere? Because I am a woman, and there are stories that I need to tell. I'll come and talk to you. But what if in your business, whatever that you'll be doing, the whole interpretation process, what if something gets lost? What do we say about that?
There's absolutely that risk. I think there's good writing and bad writing. That's the minimum basis of it. There's good writing. It's either you achieved what you're trying to do, or you've flopped.
Okay, so how are you guys telling women's stories in Zimbabwe? Is it more focused on the victims or the heroes?
I don't have those demarcations in my life. I think once you start saying, I want to write the story so I can bring this issue to light, or so I can address this problem, or so I can change people's minds about this, you're inching very close to the province of propaganda. Mm-hmm. So I should be allowed to write a story about women. I should be allowed to write a story about the president. But what then defines the outcome is how you did it. if I tell a story about you and it comes out properly, very good. But if I fail and I put in my male voice and I start, well, what's the thing millennials use? Mansplaining. Then there is a problem. But ultimately, I think women writers are the better crop in Zimbabwean literature, coming all the way from Tsitsi. Tsitsi wrote her first book around the time I was born, and it's a very iconic book. Then you go through to Yvonne Vera, and all the way up to the current crop of female writers, No Vuyo, No Violet, Tsitsi still, yes, in operation. But the best writers that we've had, I think they're female. What I have a problem with is that as a black man I have to tell black man stories. I can't tell women stories. Yes, I can tell them, but it's how I tell them.
Why do we have so many such stories?
Because Zimbabwe is a sad country and Africa is a sad country. But what I've tried to do in the last part of my career is try not to, to concentrate on those. Just let's have a different story. I guess also it comes with initially. So in my circumstance, I write what reacts to my spirit. So yes, I am that or that. But what I do is I write what reacts to my spirit. So if I see something that reacts to my sensibilities, to my ideology, to my conscience, then I write it. I'm not going to ask permission to write a story, because writing primarily for me is catharsis. I'm in the business later, yes, but I am primarily into the idea of exploring ideas and stories, something that assaults me within, and then I try and deal with that on papers. It's a way of processing emotions and that.
Okay, moving on to festivals. I'm sure you've participated in a literature festival and you ran one. So please explain to us what really happens in these literature festivals, and which festivals do we have in Zimbabwe that cater for literary arts? And is it enough?
Here we are at Ndwasa. So Ndwasa is one. I've worked with Ndwasa before, and it's been a beautiful experience. We've had our grievances, but I think once you get to a position where if you're communicating about, hey, we want you to come to our festival, and then you also have a platform to air your grievances and say, hey, listen, this is and you understand where they're coming from and that. So yes, in Ndwasa there's Lit Fest, Harare International Literature Festival, which I do not run. I'm a programs officer there. And it's also the same process that you I wasn't invited for the first time, and I was really offended. I said, I'm a good writer, I'm a great writer. Why? This is racism, this is tribalism. These people do not respect me, they should put some respect on my name. But eventually when you go through the process, then you sort of understand that there's other Lit Fests that we did when we took Drive of Madness there. We did the official opening act, and there's some things that we refused to ask for. In the spirit of cooperation in that. So it's, yeah, and then there's Shoko, of course, but Shoko mainly deals with hip-hop, get more about the culture, and also do a bit of spoken word. That's how they do the literature part. But this conversation that we're having right here, it's something that maybe Litfest can provide a platform for something like that, because literature is 100% literature-based. So we have a bit of music here and there. But yeah, those are the festivals that are there, and I enjoy participating, and I'm a man with very many demands. I think over the years I've just learned how to ask for it and how to take no for an answer.
Okay, as a published author, what do you prefer, self-publishing or traditional publishing?
Well, I think traditional publishing has the barrier of having professionals behind your work, from your editing to your designs and even marketing. So all you have to do, maybe once they accept your script, you get to appear once or twice, at an event. They organize events for you and that, but they take away most of the burden. What worries me as a self-published author is I have to take care of a lot of, the modalities, the small things. So maybe there's better writers than me out there who deserve some of the opportunities that I've gained, but they cannot gain them because they do not have my logistic skills. In the same way, there's an awful writer out there, I can mention names, but no, I'm not going to mention them. There's an awful writer out there who's taking spaces that I should be occupying, but they have better logistics than I do, right? Even selling, I had to learn how to sell books when I decided to
Okay,
sell
which
books.
avenues do you use when you're selling books?
Well, yeah, there's of course the usual one, backpack. You know, like how the hip hop cats did it back in the day. There's the backpacking, but I'm trying to avoid that because I don't want to come into town to sell one book when I've decided to spend time writing. It takes away from that. I'm currently stalking at the gallery, the National Art Gallery in Bulawayo. Working with Orange Elephant, which is opposite the National Free Library of Zimbabwe on 12th Avenue. I'm on Amazon again. Don't get me started on why I had to come back or why I left in the first place. So yeah, there's that, and it also being self-published writer also exposes that gap in that you understand that there's someone needed for marketing, and you're not a very good marketer.
Okay, what are the steps for self-publishing, just in brief?
You write your book, you print it.
Just like that.
That's it. But now, if you want to get to the nitty-gritties of it, then you be aware of the process that a book takes to be born. So you have to understand that your book needs to be edited, and you have to find the right editor for it. Whether you're paying them or you get several people to do that for you, right? It's cool. So from editing, then you go to typesetting, and then typesetting is basically design. You design the inside of the book, you design the cover, and then you have to launch it, sell it, get it to the market, get it to the people who need to read it.
Okay, please tell us about your favorite book that you wrote.
My favorite book has to be Once a Lover Was a Fool. I enjoy that book very much. I think it set a certain standard in my life, in my creative writing. And I guess it was easy because it's love. Love, yeah. Everyone writes about love. Everyone's in love.
Was it a personal thing or?
It kind of was personal. That the first part I was back in SA at the time, and I was dating this lovely woman at the time. And I used to sit down and write poems for her every night on the fire escape. So that's what inspired the first part. And then when I decided to do like an actual project, a lot of things. So the foundation is basically me putting on my heart and saying, women.
Okay, thank you, Philani. Thank you very much. Okay, before we go, I have one last question for you. If you were to practice something outside literary arts, well, not acting, not poetry, what would it be?
Maybe politics.
Okay.
Politics is an art. This quote my mom used to love. Apparently, Mugabe was sitting with another politician, and they ask, "Gee, like, so what sports do you guys like?" Other guy says, "I didn't go for a boring." Robert Mugabe says, "There's this game that I play, that I like." He was very vague about it. This game that I like. Robert Mugabe was a poet, but he was an artist in the way he played the game. So yeah, I like that theater, but no, I don't think I'm going to play in it.
Where can people buy your work? And
We've already
your
mentioned
social media angles?
Well, yes, there's Amazon in Bulawayo, there's Orange Elephant, there's National Art Gallery. My social media handles, I do not know them, really. Okay, I'm Philani Nyoni on Facebook, Philani Nyoni on Twitter. But yeah, you can Google me. Please Google me.
Please Google Philani. Please Google Philani.
Please Google me. I think there are other platforms that I do not know where I exist, but there's probably some nice stuff, especially YouTube. There are 2-3 videos.
Okay, thank you very much, Philani. Thank you very, very much. This was Conversations with Writers in Dwasa Arts Festival. My name is Charmaine Modal, and thank you very much.